puck is dropped, and it's showtime from downtown Winnipeg. Fox's pass, a shot, they score! Shankly Cutter scores! What a stop by Hellebuyck! Nikolai Ehlers off the faceoff!
Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. I'm your host, Tyler Esquivel, joined, as always, by 680 CJOB's Jamie Thomas and Jets TV's Mitchell Clinton. Before we get things started on the podcast to talk about the hockey that has been played here for the Winnipeg Jets, obviously, Mark Chipman and Kevin Cheveldayoff met the media yesterday to address the Jenner and Block report out of the Chicago Blackhawks. If you're interested in checking out the entire media availability, it's on winnipegjets.com. It's just a shade over an hour's time. Well worth your time to go and give it a watch. But for the sake of playing and talking about it on the podcast, here are a few clips from the two gentlemen on Tuesday.
As we've seen, heard, and learned, this has been a horrific week. For Kyle Beach and all victims of sexual harassment and assault. Hearing Kyle's story has no doubt brought about pain to many people and triggered some very difficult memories. Hockey fans and our broader community have been unpacking the multiple layers of events that occurred in 2010 in Chicago, how we're addressing them now, and more importantly, what we will do and how we'll act to improve moving forward. One of the questions that has been asked repeatedly of us over the past week is, what have you learned from this experience? As an opening statement, allow me to share the following. First, we need to fight the urge to look to and communicate the logic and facts in our defense of Kevin Cheveldayoff. Instead, we need to be reminded of a number of stark realities. According to the World Health Organization, it's estimated that 1 in 3 women will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. And according to the 1 in 6 organization, 1 in 6 men will be sexually assaulted. In terms of seeking support in the aftermath of assault, those who have been assaulted are likely to respond in one of 3 ways I've come to understand. The first is a preferred scenario where the victim of harassment or assault shares their story with someone, and they receive the care and support they need and deserve. The second, regrettably, is one of silence, where the victim does not share their story for fear of judgment, reprisal, shame, or other negative outcome. And the third is one where victims share their story, but those who hear it do not adequately investigate, protect, advocate for, and ultimately care for that individual. Kyle Beach falls into this third category, who shared his experience and did not get the care that he deserved. Kyle should be commended for not only sharing his story, but also serving as a courageous example to other survivors. Now, I cannot presume to begin to understand what Kyle has been through, but I have had the experience of seeing the impact of sexual abuse. On people very close to me. I've watched with a sense of helplessness pain and devastation. And have come to learn that its consequences are not self-contained. So I need Kyle to know how very, very sorry I am and how much I admire his courage. The second thing we've learned this week and throughout these horrible events is that we need to be clearer and more intentional in our messaging. Sexual abuse and violating others' personal space by abusing power is unspeakably abhorrent. Also wrong is inaction by those who know the details and don't do everything in their power to help the victim know that they are heard. I believe we live in a world that is too often not done the important work, responding and caring for victims, and doing everything in our power to make sure that they and others are not further harmed. It grieves us not only that Kyle Beach had this experience, but that others find resonance in his story. We want to name that this has been a hard week for many, as Kyle's story is hard to hear in of itself, but perhaps echoes the pain of others who have not been heard and valued.
I want to begin by stating how sorry I am that this happened to Kyle and that he's suffered as horribly as he did. What Kyle went through is unacceptable and intolerable. No one should ever have to go through what he went through. Kyle was failed by a system that should have helped him, but did not. I am sorry that my own assumptions about that system were clearly not good enough. At the time of the May 23rd, 2010 meeting, where I first heard about the harassment allegations, it was not clear to me what had fully transpired. It was not until this year that I became aware that Kyle Beach had been sexually assaulted. Further, I left that meeting with the understanding that the allegations would be dealt with by those above me. 3 weeks later, upon learning that the individual was no longer with the organization, I further assumed that the situation had been addressed. Having had the opportunity to reflect after reading the report and after seeing Kyle's moving interview, I am sorry that I cannot change what took place or how the process was handled back then. But I can learn from this and make sure that this never happens again. Knowing what I know today, I wish I could have been an empowered bystander, as Sheldon Kennedy has encouraged us all to be. We all must do better to ensure that we have safe spaces and proper systems in place that prioritize a person's health and well-being to make sure something like this never happens again. We all have to do better. There are far too many instances of people in power using their position to harass and assault others. I'm committed to being part of that change in the game of hockey, and I will speak with and learn from survivors about what we can do differently in our sport.
All right, Mitchell, the Winnipeg Jets, as we record this on Wednesday afternoon, it's an off day. The Winnipeg Jets coming off a 4-3 shootout victory in thrilling fashion at Canada Life Center over the Dallas Stars. It's been a little while since our last podcast, but the Jets have had a pretty good run here. I believe it's points in, 7 straight now. Just what have you seen from the Winnipeg Jets that's allowed them to get points in the standings, even though I think the consensus amongst the group is that they totally haven't loved their game throughout the stretch, but it's working nonetheless.
I think their best game of the stretch, honestly, was the game against the Dallas Stars, where they had the lead and ultimately weren't able to hold on to it. So it was kind of tough for them in that regard. Just to see, an effort that was so good end up being, having to go to overtime, having to go through the shootout. But that being said, I mean, you get the 2 points, you got points in 7 straight, like you said. Whereas over the road trip, it was all about the comebacks. Nikolai Ehlers in Anaheim scoring twice in 19 seconds for one of the craziest kind of last-minute comebacks we've seen. Then they come back in the third period once again against the Los Angeles Kings. They score the equalizer in the third period against the San Jose Sharks, ultimately fall in overtime to San Jose. But, it's, like you said, it's points in 7 straight, especially after the start that saw them go 0-2-1. I think you would absolutely take it, and you would know that, yes, there's areas that you want to get a little bit better in. The other good news is you got Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler back. Big shout out to Connor Hellebuyck and his wife Andrea for the birth of their new baby. Just the early morning of Tuesday against the Dallas Stars. So lots going on, but throughout it all, the Winnipeg Jets have kind of been able to keep putting those points in the bank. And I don't recall which player said it early on, but he was just basically making the point that, everybody talks about the playoff races at the end of the year, but you got to be able to bank those points early, and that's what they've been able to do.
Speaking of banking points early, Andrew Copp is off to a fantastic start to his season. He's got 5 goals, 4 assists, so that's 9 points in 9 games. Hasn't had any score sheet appearances in the last 2, but I'm sure no one's hitting the panic button whatsoever. The man has just been a force to be reckoned with, quite frankly, Jamie. Just what have you seen from his play? He's getting a ton of minutes from the Winnipeg Jets. Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele being on the COVID list, plays into that a little bit, I think. But it's nice to know you can trust this player.
I think Andrew Copp keeps betting on himself, and Andrew Copp keeps winning. It's that simple. And one thing that we know won't be sustainable is the shooting percentage is 22.7%. That's pretty hard to keep up for an entire season. So that part we know won't keep up. But he's averaging a career high 21 minutes and 22 seconds of ice time right now. His face-off percentage is 56%. And I go back to that game, I believe, in Los Angeles, where he had 10 more face-offs than the next closest player, and that was Adam Lowry. So he's become a trustworthy guy in the face-off circle for Paul Maurice. And I think his play in the face-off circle and on top of his offensive part of his game and the penalty killing and the power play has allowed Paul Maurice to keep those top 6 forward group together, which allowed him to slowly bring in Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler back from COVID. So everything that Andrew Copp has been asked to do, he has done it and then some more. And I don't know why we're even surprised anymore. And, speaking with Paul Maurice the other day, he said it's so rare a guy comes into the National Hockey League who has a defensive mindset where his offensive game gets better every year. It's just ordinarily they just stay in that defensive role, but Andrew Copp has done more than that and stretched out, and I think the Jets clearly are benefiting from the offensive surge from Andrew Copp right now.
Yeah, if you're a young player in the league, I truly think that Andrew Copp would be the blueprint in terms of how the coaches would want you to play. So often you have guys that put up points, and that's something Andrew Copp did, and like you mentioned, he comes in with a defensive mindset, and if you're good at that, then you can allow yourself to maybe take a few more chances. So Andrew Copp, a fantastic start to the season for him. Also very balanced on the score sheet as well. Power play goal, shorthanded goal, game winner, and obviously some even strengths in there as well. Mitchell, we kind of mentioned it off the top. Connor Hellebuyck did not dress on Tuesday against the Dallas Stars, obviously for the best of reasons. His wife, Andrea, gave birth to a baby boy. Hope that both of them, or all 3 of them rather, are doing well. So that meant Eric Comrie between the pipes. And I think for a lot of Jets fans, they were wondering, which games were going to be circled for Eric. And his first came against the Los Angeles Kings last week, picking up the W and getting the Helmet of the Game award, naturally. And then thrust back into the starters role at Canada Life Centre to open a 7-game homestand. So I don't think this was the script that everybody thought was going to be in play, but that's how it worked out. Just what have you seen from Eric so far that's allowed him to get 2 wins?
I thought what was really interesting from him, especially in training camp, was he talked about the work that he did with a sports psychologist. This is the first time he's ever worked with one. And this, I mean, it speaks to athletes always trying to find a way to get better. But Eric Comrie's kind of been through a lot of challenges in terms of, where he's played, how many games he's played over the course of the last couple seasons. So this was kind of the season that, it was his first chance to really take a role and run with it. And now all of a sudden he's played a couple games in the last 3 outings for the Winnipeg Jets, and he's won them both, which is huge. Obviously, that's kind of everything that you always hear about Eric Comrie is he's such a great guy and all that kind of stuff, which even he acknowledges, like, yep, that's great, but I also have to win games for this team. So he kind of just focused on a couple of things. I remember in Los Angeles, he wanted to skate well, which, to someone that doesn't know the position as well, you might think, well, skate well, like a goaltender doesn't skate, but you actually got to be a fantastic skater because it gets you into your positions that you need to be in as quickly and efficiently as you need to be in those positions to be able to make stops. So he was quite good against the Los Angeles Kings, and then he comes in against the Dallas Stars team that's motivated. Things weren't going so well for them. They hadn't scored more than 2 goals in regulation time all season. They come into the game at Canada Life Centre. They are able to get 3, but you start to look at some of the goals that did occur. I mean, you have Jamie Benn in front of you all alone. That's a tough stop for any goaltender. And then he was screened on the third. And he, as a goaltender, is always going to say, like, I want to be able to see through those screens. I want to be able to fight through those. So then the other goal that Dallas scored was a goal mouth scramble. So, you know what? I think Eric Comrie is building confidence in himself. He always felt that once he got a few starts, it's been similar to every level for him. He's always had that point where he goes, okay, I've got it now. I know I can do this. And I think he's getting close to that in the National Hockey League now. I think he's got 10 starts in his career over the course of the last number of years. But 2 of them this year, 2 in the last 3 games for the Winnipeg Jets, both of them wins. I think that's a real good sign for the Jets.
This situation just reminds me so much of the Laurent Brossoit time when he was brought in. Everybody's like, who's this guy?
Yes.
And nobody had any confidence in the backup goaltender. And then, boom, they were winning games. And here we are again. So I'm not shocked.
I think the biggest thing with Eric Comrie is that all the other starts he's had with the Jets, he's been called up from the Manitoba Moose. Now you don't have this, if I'm not speaking for Eric, but maybe he's thinking, if I don't have a great start, I'm going back, or this is just that one-off kind of thing, and I have to prove myself, and maybe stressing himself in those situations. Now he's the bona fide backup goaltender. He feels and knows that if he has a bad night, he's not getting sent back to the American Hockey League. I think that puts him at ease a little bit, and I think that's shown his last 2 his starts this year.
The other thing too is the guys absolutely love this person. I don't know if anybody had a chance to see the helmet presentation from yesterday's game on Tuesday night, but the embrace between Scheif and Eric is, it's cool. Tough to fake, like these guys want to play in front of him, and these are guys that came up in the organization together. Obviously, Morrissey being one of them, and Scheifele, obviously leapfrogged him a little bit in terms of their development curve, but that's to be expected with goaltending, and they love playing in front of this guy. So, when you have that confidence in somebody, then you want to fight for them. So, speaking of somebody who's gaining confidence at the National Hockey League level, Kristian Vesalainen, he's our guest this week on Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. As I'm sure you saw on social media, the Winnipeg Jets appeared to have had a Halloween soiree. I'm sure that's what they called it.
Of course.
That's totally the word they used.
And there were some fantastic costumes that I'm sure everybody saw. Kristian Vesalainen, I'm sure you've noticed, he has changed his haircut, or lack thereof.
This is for his costume?
Well, I don't know if it was for his costume, but it inspired the costume.
Right.
So I'll stop talking. Here's our interview with the young Finn.
Jets fans, November is Hockey Fights Cancer Month, and we want you to join the fight. You can support the cause by buying online raffle tickets at winnipegjets.com/hockeyfightscancer, with all proceeds going to Cancer Care Manitoba. And don't forget the Hockey Fights Cancer game is on November 22nd versus the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Shot, they score!
Get your tickets at winnipegjets.com/tickets. Help hockey fight cancer today.
Hi, this is Kristian Vesalainen, and you're listening to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets.
Joined here on the Ground Control podcast with Jets forward Kristian Vesalainen. Okay, so it's November 1st as we record this. Halloween was yesterday, but I know Halloween's not a thing in Finland.
It is.
It is?
It is.
Okay,
actually,
so I've heard
we
conflicting reports.
No, we celebrate Halloween, and but not maybe as big as here, but yeah, we do it. Yeah.
Okay, so did you go trick-or-treating when you were a kid?
I did not do it every year, but some years I did, yeah.
Okay. And it looks like the team had a Halloween party yesterday. Did you attend?
Of course, of course.
Okay, good, okay. What was your costume for yesterday?
I was the Mr. Clean.
For those that don't know what Kristian looks like right now, why were you Mr. Clean?
I thought that was perfect. I thought that suited me well, so
Yes,
I had to do it.
Okay, so you brought it up. You've gone bald. You've shaved the head. What's the story there?
There's actually not a story. Just wanted to shave it earlier than later, I would say.
Nice. What was some of the other costumes? Did you have any thoughts on some of your teammates? How did they dress up?
Actually, Svech had a pretty nice one. I think he had somebody do makeup. He was a Joker, so he had a pretty good costume. Yeah.
Nice. Switching to the hockey side of things now, just you're 8 games into the regular season. How do you feel the season's gone for you personally so far?
There's been some good games, some bad games too, but I can still play better, and should be consistent with my level. So I have not done that, but otherwise it's been okay.
What are some of the things that you're looking to improve then, I guess, in that same breath?
Just the game with the puck, be a little bit more offensive and get more chances, and just go to the net, and that's it.
One of the things that I remember from last year, talking to Jamie Compon, was just saying that when you came to camp last year and throughout the season and bouncing between the taxi squad and the roster, your willingness to learn was fantastic, and just taking, whether it was criticisms and applying them to try and get better. Just what was it about that season last year that you think has sort of maybe helped you move forward here?
Being around with these guys, there's obviously a lot of good leaders in this team. So it's nice to see how they do things, and obviously listen to them and listen to the coaches, what they have to say, and because obviously you can't know everything when you're as a player. So it's good to have those kind of guys and coaches around me. That helps me a lot, and that's maybe the biggest thing.
One thing that I wonder, Patrick Laine is no longer with the organization. Sami Niku is no longer with the organization. You're sort of now the lone Finn, and I know you guys all hung out together. Do you see this new season sort of as just an opportunity to sort of, not that you were ever living in those guys' shadows, but do you know what I mean? You just sort of plot your own way forward, and you're not relying on those guys to do this as a team. Like, I'm Kristian Vesalainen, I got to do this on my own kind of thing.
I don't know if there's any thing from like Finnish guys have to be the best or something like
For
that.
sure,
I've
yeah.
never thought about it that way, but yeah, obviously this has to be a big season for me, and just try to make the most of it.
You scored your first NHL goal. Very exciting. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Just how did that feel to put the puck in the net? I know it was a long time coming for you, and you're a guy who offense is something that is sort of your calling card, and to get your first one, just what did it feel like?
Yeah, I was excited when I scored that, and obviously that's the dream when you're a kid. You wanna first play in the NHL and then score, and Yeah, I'm usually scoring goals, but it's been pretty tough for me now. But that's a good thing that I got it out my way. So.
It was a tip-in goal. Just take me through the play. Some people might say, "Oh, it was just an accident that it ended up going in," but I feel like that was designed. You put your stick in the place that you knew a tip was going to have a shot at going in the back of the net.
Yeah, 100%. You're not gonna just go into the net and try to tip pucks to the boards. Obviously,
right.
you're gonna try to score. So that's the thing. Yeah, but Schmitty had the puck in the blue line pretty good, and it was not the most hardest shot ever, but so it was pretty easy to flick that in.
You're playing on the left or right side right now, and you're a left shot. What kind of challenges come along with playing that opposite side?
I feel maybe timing actually is like it's a little bit weird to turn there on the defensive zone. But other than that, it's fine. I feel like the start was pretty hard, but I'm getting there.
Obviously, good opportunities for one-timers as well.
Yeah,
on that opposite side.
Yeah, that's and I have a pretty good shot, so that's a good thing for me.
You've had an interesting path to the NHL. You spent time in the Liga and the KHL. Just how did those experiences and playing in those leagues sort of help you prepare for what's in front of you now?
I mean, Finnish league is pretty good league, and KHL was even better. But just from playing with the older guys and men at the young age, so I think that was a big thing for me, obviously. And there are some guys in KHL too, and Joker who's played in NHL, so they helped me a little bit.
What's the for North Americans here? The KHL is just something we see on Twitter highlights. Just what is the quality of play like there, and what kind of league is it? Is it just pretty close to the NHL with some different style?
I mean, the rink is so big, or it was. I don't know if they've changed it. So you have a lot of time there. But yeah, there's some really skilled guys and pretty. I would say pretty big D-man. They have strong D-man, but. I mean, it's a really good league. It's a hard league to play, obviously, and yeah.
I feel like the travel's got to be hard playing in that league, especially for you guys playing in Helsinki.
Yeah, I think we were in China, and that was a long flight. I think it was like 12 something hours, something like that. So it was obviously the travel was pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you do on a 12-hour flight?
I usually play cards.
Okay.
But I don't remember what did I do. Maybe sleep too.
Makes sense. What's your card game of choice?
Snarps. Yeah.
How does that game work? I've never heard of it.
I don't even know how to explain it in English, but it's you get 5 cards. You have to call a suit and stuff like that. I can't explain it. Can't.
Last question for you before we wrap things up. You wear number 93. I believe that was your development camp number that was assigned to you, and you've kept it ever since. Just why 93?
I played with 93 when I was in Finland. Yeah, I played. So just it went pretty good that season for me. So I just kept it. So
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Kristian Vesalainen on Ground Control. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Shop where the players shop. Jets Gear and TrueNorthShop.com are your authentic team stores. Make sure to stock up on all your favorite Winnipeg Jets and Manitoba Moose merchandise today. Visit one of the 5 Jets Gear locations or shop online at TrueNorthShop.com. Thanks so much to Kristian Vesalainen for joining us here on Ground Control. Before we get into things, Halloween costumes. Were you dressed up as anything? Jamie, you have 3 children.
I had to go to a kid's Halloween party, so the easiest thing to do is I have a Superman shirt. You put the suit on, you unbutton your top shirt, you're Superman, throw on the glasses, boom.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done.
I've used it 3 times now. There's a while ago, we had, when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, we just used the same jumpsuit and it was like a prisoner costume. So we would put our phone number as our...
Oh, no.
Brilliant.
As our prisoner number. So anyways,
nice.
I digress.
I did not dress up this year.
Did you hand out candy? How's your neighborhood for
I did
candy?
that. Oh, really good.
Yeah, I bet.
Really good. Like, so we've lived at our place, and now I guess this would be 5 years. And the first year, it was kind of like part of this like new development. So, and we took possession like the week before Halloween, and moved in and all that kind of stuff. So like, you have this new development. You have no grass, no driveway. And
muddy
it's mud, yeah. And we're just like, we have candy, and like wanting to just like throw it to the street. But
go deep.
Yeah. So it's been nice. Like every year since, that kind of area's gotten a little bit more established and all that kind of stuff. So now like you're starting to get more and more kids. And I want to say we were close to 100, which is something that for like the little place that we live in, that's I think a pretty big deal. So
Tyler, you have a house now, so you're like full adult. You must have had a lot of kids.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is our first Halloween in our new house, and we had about 43 kids. But I mean, my fiance was super excited about to hand out candy, and the dog and I just sort of sat on the couch and watched people come up. My favorite one was the dad with the beer on my driveway, and we just gave each other a little nod.
Hello there.
Just doing what you can to get through. But yeah, I've been successfully snacking on peanut M&Ms for
there you go.
a few days now. So
the best idea was the smaller chocolate bar ever before.
Oh, for sure.
When I was a kid, it was brutal. Candy was brutal.
Well, I remember
popcorn balls, apples. There's always that rumor there's razor blades in the apples.
Well,
even
I'm
like
sure
this,
some weirdo did it.
Well, even this year, like I think the first box of Halloween candy I saw at our house was like September 4th. I was like, this is not gonna last, and I think it made it to the 7th.
Not bad. New record.
So, there you go.
Nice.
3 days.
So, there was some significant amount of runs to the grocery store to buy more candies so that we would actually have some on the day.
All right, well, Halloween is fun. There's also some fun going on this month here in downtown Winnipeg in the plaza at True North Square. There's going to be some parties ahead of the Winnipeg Jets and Manitoba Moose games.
It's a lot of partying.
It is. So I'm going to try and run through this event here every game. But ahead of the Jets and Moose games, you can come down to the plaza at True North Square. There's some really cool things happening. They have a tent set up, and they'll have some hot stoves with some local Winnipeg Jets and Manitoba Moose alumni. So just answering some questions. Maybe you hear a cool story or two. Obviously, there's food and beverages available for purchase. There'll be a DJ as well. And in addition to all of that, they also have some cultural performances lined up. So that's open to interpretation there, but definitely some neat things that could come out of that. And then also, just so people are aware, you do not have to have a ticket to the game to attend. So if you want to come down here and get a feel of the atmosphere, that's something you can do. Just a reminder, though, it is QR coded. So if you'd like to come in and attend the event, you must show proof of double vaccination. So that's the parties in the plaza all November long. And if I'm hearing this, and even if you don't have a ticket to the game for this weekend, man, it is supposed to be warm here in the Manitoba capital. I thought it was supposed to get up to 12 degrees. Might have to break out the lawnmower again.
Yes, I know. I was just thinking that. I was like, that's going to mean one more extra cut on the old lawn, but the party in the plaza would be way more fun than that.
I agree. So yeah, parties in the plaza. Get down here and enjoy it. Some great atmosphere, some great performances as well. Back to the hockey side of things. 2 games on tap for the Winnipeg Jets coming up on Friday and Saturday. Friday they take on Chicago, and then Saturday the New York Islanders are in town. It's the rare home back-to-back, which can be a good old grinder.
Especially who the second opponent is.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not an easy opponent for your second game in as many nights.
Oh, no. So, Jamie, it's your turn to talk. Tell me about...
I've done all this talking.
Tell me about the 2 matchups for the Winnipeg Jets this weekend.
Well, I remember we were going through our getting to know the Central Division videos that we put up on winnipegjets.com and on social media. Chicago did a lot of, how shall we say, they stopped the rebuild train quite promptly and went another direction, bringing in some Marc-Andre Fleury, of course, and it has not gone well. They have 1 regulation win to start here, and things have kind of gone off the rails for the Chicago Blackhawks. So, familiar customers, Jonathan Taves, Patrick Kane, you go down the list, just things have not gone well for this hockey club. And So they come in on Friday for the first time in a long time in the city, and then you have the New York Islanders on the weekend. The Islanders are off to a slower start. They were thought of, kind of as a Stanley Cup contender based on the fact that they have pushed the Tampa Bay Lightning to the brink the past couple of playoffs, of course, before falling. So it's a little bit slower start. They're a grinding team, older team, much like the Dallas Stars. They get great goaltending. So ordinarily that, especially on home ice, and you don't make the schedule yourself. You prefer the Chicago Blackhawks be the opponent on Saturday rather than the Islanders, but that's where we sit.
Just looking at that Metro division, that's a tough division. Pittsburgh sits in last, and they're 3-3-2, which obviously isn't the start they wanted, but they've had some
no Crosby and no Malkin to start the year, so it's impressive they even set where they are right now too. So
Islanders also sitting with 8 points at a record of 3-2-2. To close things out, Mitchell, I'll turn things over to you. For me, just one of the things I noticed about the game on Tuesday was the Stanley and DeMelo pairing. While they're not known for their offense, Stanley maybe a little bit, both of them had some chances. But that's not what we're going to talk about. I just want to know what that duo has done for the team in order to balance the defense score, balance the minutes, and just have some reliability defensively on that back end.
Well, reliability is the big one that you mentioned. Paul Maurice has a pair that he can go to that is fully capable. I mean, obviously, Dylan DeMelo is a guy that came over at the trade deadline a couple seasons back now, and really, was known for just playing this strong, fundamentally sound game. He makes smart reads, quick reads, moves the puck well, which is something that you obviously want on your back end. And Logan Stanley just continues to get better. Obviously, had his breakout year last year. And then this year just continues to improve on that. And there were a couple of times against the Stars, Tyler, where you and I kind of turned to each other and we're like, man, that's a play that, if you're 6'7", you can get there. If you're 6'4", you can't. And there were a few of those plays against the Stars from Logan Stanley. And I just think he just continues to get more and more confident. You look at them as a pair in terms of like 5-on-5 shot attempt differential and whatnot. They're on the positive side of that ledger, which is good. That's what you want to see, of course, from not just that defensive pair, but any of them. The only thing that they probably want to improve on, but I think this goes for the Jets defense and even the forwards as a whole, is just the high danger chances are a little bit more geared towards the opponent than they are for the Winnipeg Jets with those two on the ice. But it's the same across the board. I mean, you look at the game against the Dallas Stars, they didn't really get a bunch of great shots, but the shots that they did get, the chances they did get, were high danger opportunities. We talked about the Jamie Benn goal being one of them. So, and Paul Maurice kind of touched on, there are some things that they want to do, but for 90% of the time that they're in their defensive zone, especially against the Stars, I mean, you like what you see from the Jets. They're moving the puck well. They're able to, get those defensive stops, and then they run one of their breakout plays, and away they go, and they're through the neutral zone with speed. So I think as they continue to work together, both forwards and defense, and that includes the Stanley and DeMelo pairing, you're going to start to see those numbers start to go back in the direction that the Winnipeg Jets would like. But I think you're seeing a lot of positives, especially from that pairing early on this season.
Yeah, and just on the minutes notion, Dylan DeMelo averaging about 15 and a half minutes and Stanley averaging about 14. I think in years past that third pairing wasn't quite hitting that number. Mm-hmm. So obviously something that Paul Maurice is able to go and use with a little bit more consistency. And just as a whole, the team with a solid defensive effort, I think pretty much through the entire second period on Tuesday. I think Dallas had like 2 shots on net. They ended up with 8 in the period total, but they hardly had any ozone time. So the Jets defense play getting better as the season goes along, and I think we're getting better as the season goes along too.
Yes.
But that's for you to judge. That's enough from us. On behalf of myself, Tyler Escobar, 680 CJOB's Jamie Thomas, and Jets TV's Mitchell Clinton, thanks so much for tuning into Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. Have yourself a great week and weekend, and you'll hear from us next week.
This is Big Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV. For Jets news, videos, and more, head to winnipegjets.com.
Proceed when able.